Wait a second. Wait, stop it. Wait.
That's all right. Whenever you're ready.
It's not going down? Or no, it's not going down.
No, you start. It's okay.
Well, I have like 5 minutes of this, and this is weird. Okay. The decades following the publishing of The Origin of Species, there was a bunch of controversy in the United States, particularly in the South, where of course it still is, but where they passed a bunch of laws prohibiting teasing evolution. I'm not going to give any test together because that's, like I said, that fluff. This is a historical story. I'm not going to do some hypothetical question. Okay, so, but the law that's relevant to this case is the, quote, Butler's Law. It was passed in 1925 in Tennessee. So named after the person who introduced it. And it denied the right of teachers to teach, quote, any theory that contradicted the Bible. However, the ACLU offered assistance to anyone who would test the law. And so John Scopes, encouraged by his neighbors, and because the textbooks actually had evolution in them, decided to do so. He was arrested for this. So in the town of Dayton, Tennessee, where he taught, there was a trial that came up. And we had the people who participated, like John Scopes, the teacher. We had the judge, John T. Ralston, who was an evangelicist. He called himself a, quote, just your regular mountaineer judge. The jury, who so happened to be all white male, well, oh, what's obvious, all male farmers, you know? And all evangelicals. The prosecutor, which is Williams Jennings Bryan, former congressman, former Secretary of State, three-time presidential candidate, and generally really famous, even very religious and very populistic. The defense lawyer, Clarence Darrow, he was agnostic, very famous, and he believed that, he, quote, religion was a sanctifier of bigotry, of narrowness, and the status quo. And of course, the involvement of these two turned trial from a backwater thing to this huge national event. In fact, it was the first trial to be covered nationally on radio live. This was big time, you know? And they had their arguments. The prosecutor argued, they tried to keep away from the whole, what is the law, why is there, the argument was basically that, well, the people have, the legislators, the voice of the people, and as such they have the right to determine what is taught in the curriculum. The defense's argument was that the law was foolish and unconstitutional because, quote, the Tennessee State Constitution states that no prevalence to be given to any religious establishment or mode of worship, but the judge rejected their silence. And so they attempted to examine 12 extra witnesses. But after the first examination, the judge declared that inadmissible and dismissed the other 11. And at this point, it looked like the thing was over. It looked like the thing was just done. And even Yellis thought they were victorious. That's a big word, but that's later. And but they had one last trick up their sleeve. Next day, an ACLU attorney called up their last witness, Williams Jennings Bryan. And so for 2 hours, Darrow examined him and asked him questions like about the Bible. He more or less ignored the actual case. Things like, did the whale actually eat Jonas? Did the old language actually did the Tower of Babel? And was the world actually created in 6 days, 7 years ago? And first, Bryan answered, you know, I accept the Bible literally. But as time went on, it became obvious that he really didn't. He was started to say things like, no, the days are metaphors, stuff like that. And the people started to lose faith in him, like the supporters. And eventually, he got pissed, and there was a big scene between them, where he accused Darrow of just trying to slur the Bible, and Darrow just said, no, I'm just trying to point out that no, you believe stuff that no logical man would. They understand. But at this point, let me do it. It was a big ploy too, because they knew they had lost. Darrow knew there was no chance of going to win the case. So he told the judge to call the jury and find the defendant guilty, and weave the right to a final statement to make sure Bryan couldn't give his big speech he was planning to give us. He was going to give this big 1 hour, 1.5 hour closing statement. But then the jury deliberated for 9 minutes and found Scopes guilty. Only 9 minutes. But Brian was never able to prepare for reputation though, because he died 5 days afterward of a heart in his sleep. Scopes himself was eventually acquitted by the Supreme Court of Tennessee, though they upheld their law. So it took decades for a law to actually be repealed. It took decades and major Broadway events and a motion picture about the trial for the law to be repealed.
Thank you.